Welcome to Cash Flow Savannah. This is episode 59. Chandler, how are you?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
Well, we had another hurricane, so I would say I'm just all right now.
Yeah, this one came out of nowhere, didn't it?
It did, and I mean, I'd say for half of the nation, for half of the East Coast, I think is kind of going, what happened? Even still, I still can't believe what upsets me about this hurricane is that you slept through it. How did you do that?
Slept right through it like a baby.
I did not.
Woke up,
Go ahead, sorry.
woke up and was like, what happened?
What happened in my
That's it.
yard?
Yeah, why is it a mess out here? But yeah.
I did not sleep. Let me tell you, we lost 6 pine trees. We live on acreage, so I guess maybe we have more trees to lose, and that's what we get. But when a pine tree snaps off right next to your house over and over and over, it is very loud and it's
Mhm.
kind of scary. I mean, I was constantly like, that didn't sound like it hit anything, but it was loud. I can't believe you slept through that. The wind was just really rushing.
Yeah. I have a buddy in near Columbus, Georgia, and that's kind of like right where it hit.
Oh,
I
no.
texted him, I was like, hey, you good? He's like, slept right through it. I was like, I did too.
That's just
But
rude.
I guess I got lucky. Um, but
Well,
yeah.
if anyone out there hasn't experienced a hurricane, it sucks going through it. That's the easy part though, is sitting through it, even though you're just sitting there. But the bad part is that you lose power and it's you think, okay, I don't have power and internet, I have my cell phone. That's in a normal environment. But in a hurricane, when everyone else lost power and everyone else lost internet, they're all trying to use their cell phone. And a lot in this instance, more than most the towers are also down. They're either down or they're crowded, and it just equals nothing. Like, you're just kind of in the dark for days.
Yeah, I kind of think about it a little different when you lose power. I'm just like, it's funny. Like the neighbors all kind of are outside. I feel like it's the older times back in the 80s is what they used to. I wasn't born, but I feel like that's what they would do is they'd hang out. We were hanging out, helping each other. I mean, a lot of people have generators over here. And so we were kind of helping each other out, just talking. So yeah, it was kind of good just to get away from all the craziness that your cell phone can hold.
Yeah,
So
it feels like that at first, and then when it goes on for 3 to 4, and now we're in day 5, and a lot of people still don't have power.
yeah.
And the thing that really surprised me is that we didn't know this obviously at first, but this for some reason this storm was so bad it messed up substations. So you're not just out of power because there's a tree on the line. You're out of power because the whole town is out. And to drive through Savannah with no stoplights, I made the mistake of coming home 204 Saturday, and I was terrified. It was like it's every man for himself out there. So I've never really experienced that where it's not only is there no cell service, there's no internet, there's no power, there aren't any stoplights, and they're not coming back on. We still miss and have a lot of stoplights out. And it's like I said, we're day 5. Actually, it's day
Yeah, my grandparents don't have any, power still, so they're hanging out with us, and they're feeding us pretty well, so
nice. Well, that's good.
but
Well,
yeah, we're
I had some good come out of it, and I feel actually terrible because my big mouth got me in trouble. But the funny thing is that, we knew there was a hurricane Thursday night. We were not worried because it was hitting Florida, and then we thought it was heading up to Atlanta, but instead it decided it wanted to visit the East Coast. So I had friends from out of state that had been planning to come for months. They bought plane tickets, I had a whole schedule, all of the things. So I had people coming on Friday, hell or high water, and I'm like, oh, it'll be fine. Well, they're texting me, "We're getting on the jet." I'm like, "Oh, I'm sure we'll have power in a few hours." Wrong.
yeah,
Of course, at this point, I'm at my own house. I have no idea how much everyone else, has been affected. But I had all kind of plans. I had a boat booked for Saturday night. We did a sunset cruise. We did all kind of cool stuff, which actually still happened. But, the thing that we've noticed, you said your grandparents are living with you. All over town, you're either bunking with someone or someone is bunking with you. It is what it is, like and I've never seen this before in storms, but I had all these people from out of state. Well, then on Sunday, my friend reached out and he's like and Sid was here has been bombarded with requests because there are so many people that need a place to stay. So my friend, knowing I manage at Sid was here, he said, "Hey, I need some help. We just have no water, nothing. Not only do people not have power, they don't have water.
Mm.
And one friend actually spent Friday night with us. She said, "I'm about to use my fish tank so I can flush my toilet. Is there any way I can come to your house?" I say, "Come on." So amidst me having company, I've had friends coming to stay. Well, he just happened to mention when I was talking to him, and I already said, "Hey, come stay. We have room. It's fine." And he said, he said, "Well, I can't come till later. I have the bananas game." And I said, "Oh, you're going to the bananas game?" And he said, "Yeah, I'm the drummer." And I'm like, "You're the drummer for the Savannah Bananas?" I knew he was a drummer in a Christian band, but I didn't know he was the drummer for the Bananas. And I said, "Well, gosh, I wish I'd have known that." I said, "All my friends are here from out of state and they're dying to go." And he got us tickets on Sunday. So because of the hurricane and because I was having him stay over, and he is my friend, I would have him stay over even if he were not the drummer for the Savannah Bananas. But I took my whole group to the Bananas game Sunday. We had the best time, Chandler. And I thought of you because I know you have a relative over there too. It was really fun.
Yeah, no, that's I have a Savannah banana nana,
Yeah,
so I
you
get tickets whenever I want, but I don't go very often. So
I don't either. Well, and I mean, we're used to it, here we've Chandler, you and I have been going to bananas games and sand nets games for many years, so it's not a big deal. But my friends were telling me they have been getting into the lottery, trying to get tickets to any Savannah Bananas game. There's a lottery, nationwide lottery, where they're like Taylor Swift, may I say. I was like, "Really? You're in a lottery?" And here I pick up the phone, "Hey, come and get some tickets." Cool. So they were so excited to get to see the Bananas play in Savannah. And I had a great time with it.
yeah,
It's just all the best things about Savannah. It's having fun. It's being relaxed. It's not worrying about the rules. I'm just kidding. They have their own rules. But we had a really good time.
yeah, that worked out perfectly. I think that's one of the things that if somebody visits Savannah, take them to a bananas game. I think
I agree.
that's a good thing to do if you're visiting Savannah. Try to get tickets.
Absolutely. And reach out to people like me and Chandler. Maybe we know somebody who knows somebody. So
You would have to sit with the Savannah Banana Nanas. I don't know if that's the best time in the world. Bunch of grandmas that dance. But if you want to, feel free to reach out to me.
I love it.
So
We got a great guest today. It's a local investor. We love to feature our real estate community. It's Adam Catledge. He is a good friend, and I just cannot say enough good about Adam. He's a good human. He's a great real estate investor, and he's a great resource. And so I just really want to encourage everyone to listen to this episode. Adam was dropping bombs left and right. How he got into the sub-2 community, I found very interesting. I know you'll want to hear that story. But without further ado, we're going to bring in our very good friend Adam Catledge. All right, welcome to Cashflow Savannah. Adam, how are you today? It's such an honor to have you on our little teeny little show.
Well, I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me. I know that y'all are down in Savannah and I'm up in Beaufort, so we've made it. We're made it on the other side of the storm, and unlike some other people up in North Carolina, so
Very true.
our thoughts and prayers are with them up there. So
yes, it's been a mess, hasn't it?
it has.
Mess on multiple different levels than 3 weeks ago or whenever the last hurricane was. I'm just like, really?
Yep.
I know.
Yep.
Did you have any
So,
properties that got hurt during that or
yeah. So we had some down trees in Beaufort, where one of our properties. So luckily, I know somebody that has a land clearing business. So same day, those trees were out, and
oh
the
wow.
the Airbnb, it was an Airbnb, so the backyard was cleaned up again. But we did have some of our fencing did come down at our other
Yeah.
property in Savannah, and then one out in Hinesville, fence came down. I mean, that wind that we got was just not expected.
Not expected.
And
Fences
so,
are down
yeah,
Like
everywhere. I lost 6 trees just at my house, and then a brand new roof is munched. Not here, but in, one of my rentals. It's just always something.
yeah, I might try to get a new roof out of this. So
I can't say I blame you.
we'll see. Yeah.
so
Man,
Adam,
But yeah, so not much damage, and
good.
it could have been a lot worse.
That's right.
so Adam, I like to start off like kind of like what got you into real estate. Was there this moment that you're like, I need to do this? When did it start?
Well, we'll have to go back to 2022, really, right? That's when I decided to jump into real estate and really go down this journey of saying that this is the path that I was going to go. But we'll go back even a little bit further to 2016 when me and my husband, we bought our first home together. Rent the room out by, you still could use the house. It was more room rental. Well, people were in the downstairs, and Caesar would see him when he'd come in, and he's like, "We got to stop." But I wasn't going to stop, right? Because money was coming in. It was paying the mortgage. So we were doing a little bit of a house situation, but through Airbnb because it just started to become very popular. And so that was it. From there, we rehabbed it downstairs where we could just put a wall up and put an exterior door. So that's where it really got the feel of leveraging real estate for a benefit, right? A financial benefit. So we, fast forward to 2022. 2022. Really, I'm in the process of transitioning out of the military because I did 20 years in the military. Retired last July, but I was able to go. Actually, left about 6 months before my retirement because you can go do internships. And so I did one with Patriot Family Homes, which is the property management company, plus an Airbnb. They do short-term rentals out of Tennessee. And I said, hey, I was going to go into sales. This is what I was going to go into, because money does not solve problems. It does make life easier and allows you to do a lot of things that you want to do. So I was going to go into like medical device sales, pharmaceutical sales. And I really decided that I took a step back again and looked at it and said, why am I going to go work for someone else and build their dream when I can, I've got my safety net of my retirement. Mm-hmm. I can go in and really give this thing a go and see how it works, right? And so I did the bigger pockets, did the rookie boot camp, and so got through about week 6, I think it was week 7 of when they started talking about finance week. Okay. And so Pace Morby was on there, right? So he was. They talked about him when they were at a conference, and so curiosity got the best of me about, you can leverage other people's money. You don't need money to buy real estate. I was in the mindset of you had to have 20% down on all your properties. Just new to this whole thing. And so June 25th was my first day when I really took a leap into my first real mentorship and community, and I joined Sub 2.
Nice.
And so if Adam from June 24th walked by me today, I wouldn't know who that person is, right? Because of the power that the real estate community has given me to, just excel in, financial freedom, time freedom. It has allowed me to, buy real estate, across the country, meet people. And so, that's where I really got started was in June of 2022 when I joined the Sub 2 community.
Can I say, I didn't know Pace Morby did rookie boot camps for Bigger Pockets. I think he won the lottery, Adam. I don't think that was a normal.
Well, he does it. He was at a conference that the hosts were at, and they just brought him up. So they should have not brought him up.
You got so lucky.
Yeah, they just mentioned it. So I just, got on Google and Googled what Pace Morby was. And I didn't make it back to the next week. I'll tell you that much, unfortunately.
You are talking to 2 very big Pace Morby fans, Chandler, and I love him. We were with you at the Sub 2 event, back in April. I recently joined Sub 2. I'm so excited. And man, Pace,
welcome to the family.
Thank you. I love that he's an out of the box thinker, and you don't have to necessarily think like him. He just wants you to think differently. And I love.
And so that's where, I think that I excelled so much inside the Sub 2 community because there's a lot of people that, really did not, that they just get in the cycle of doing the same thing over and over, and they don't see the results that they want. Well, I didn't give myself any option to fail. I was like, this is not an option. I'm going to, just all in. fail forward, just, get up, dust your knees off, and then continue, right? Because it's not been easy. It's been, hard at times, right? Sometimes I say, hell, I've been working harder now than I have in the military, but I'm working for me, right? And so, but I think I'm very successful at it because I went in there not thinking, hey, let me learn how to get creative in real estate rather than just focus on one niche of sub two, right? Get creative with the SCR loans, get creative with working with private money, get creative working with other people in the room, get creative with just anything in real estate, because there should be no reason why you can not leverage a property. In most cases, there are those exceptions, but if you can, if you get the strategies that are out there, between co-living, sober living, assisted living homes, renting out to these people, right? You don't have to be the operator, Airbnbs, midterm. There's so many different avenues you can go with a property that it's hard to not find a reason why to buy a property, unless it's just, it's way overpriced, right?
Yeah.
And they're not willing to work with you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well,
That's the cool thing about Pace is he not only just teaches you sub two, he teaches you just to open your mind up a little bit
yeah.
to
Mhm.
get really creative with things. That's one thing I've learned from him, just kind of like not just sub two, but just getting really creative and opening your mind up, expanding your mind, I guess you could say. And he has just created one hell of a culture over there too that is just give, give, give. And it seems like everybody in sub two is give, give, give. So it's kind of cool. It starts from the
Yep.
top and you can see it just trickles down.
Well, and what I love about the culture as well is that you're expected to work together. You're expected to look at real estate as a team sport, which it absolutely is. It is very much a team sport. And Adam, speaking of you being a great teammate, you were our most recent speaker at our local Savannah, Catchlow Savannah meetup. And it was fantastic. You just did such a great job talking about using VA loans and being creative. But one thing that you said during that presentation, which I was like, really, is you said, I have a deal right now, and it was put together in this room. Like you showed up, you got out of bed where, you're in Beaufort, you're 45 minutes away. That wasn't an easy meeting to come to, right? I'm sure you had other things to do. And you came down and you just happened to find the property and the funding in that room. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I was able to just to clarify. So I didn't find the property in the room.
Oh, I apologize.
Yeah. But I did find a partner in the room, and I did find a private money lender in the room, which I can say that we are doing a flip a flip, buy and hold. We haven't really decided yet. We're almost done with the project. We're going to list it, see if it sells, and if it don't sell, then we can keep it, right? Because we are buy and hold investors. But it was in that room that, going up and talking to people, letting people know what we're doing, networking with the people in the room for us to be able to get the deal funded and closed inside that room, all with private money, and we're looking at it, over a $780,000 raise, so, it is possible to do big deals rather than these smaller ones with private money, and so you can get them done in these rooms with people that you already associate with, or even new people. As long as the deal works, people are going to come to it.
Mm-hmm. So tell us a bit, when you're at these meetups, which I know a lot of these listeners probably get to, how are you networking? Like, what are the questions you're asking? Like, how are you getting private money lenders like to be on board and trust you?
Well, I'll tell you the really the first thing is, just, hey, my name is Adam Catledge. What are you working on what are you currently working on in real estate? Or what is your experience? Have you been doing this long? Just a wide variety, just trying to pull out where they are in their journey, because you have to look at it and see, okay, well, if I'm going into this meetup for a certain reason, so that you can continue the conversation, but that, hey, this conversation needs to be a little bit shorter than others because it's not what I've come here for, right? You need to go in and be an intentional networker, right? Just don't network to network. And, because there's a lot of people that go out there and they over network. And I'll talk to some people in the community, and they'll the biggest thing is go talk to all these people and get to know everyone. Well, that's great, but how is it helping you move closer to your goal of owning real estate? And so I tell people, I ask some of the questions I ask on interviews with people, like when they call and talk to me, are last 7 calls you've had with people. What have you done with that? What have you done with those conversations? And if they can't really answer that, then why should I give them some of my time that I think is valuable? So, because they're not going to do anything with that. It's a waste of time. But inside these meetups, there is a wealth of knowledge and people that are doing all types of real estate transactions between lending, flip, buy and hold, birds, everything that's out there. And so you really have to, I guess the best way is, just extrapolate the information on the front end to see if it is a good connection that you want to continue down and give more time to, more energy to in the room. It's nothing wrong with saying, giving it a 5-minute talk and then moving on. You can always come back to that person later on because you've gotten what they're doing and see how you can work together. But, being an intentional networker will allow you to benefit greatly from these types of meetups.
Well, just to follow up what you're saying, Adam, the people I've seen be very successful at networking, and you're definitely one of them, is the people that walk in and go, I'm here to buy a triplex. Do you know anyone? Or I need a painter. Do you know anyone? Like, come. It's all about preparation, right? So if you walk in the room going, I'm looking for these 2 things, you're probably going to find that. But if you just want to talk about,
absolutely,
your puppy, that you're going to get the same result. So,
yep. I always say go out and create a problem and try to find someone to help you solve it. Right. And these network events are great for that, right? Because everybody has different experience and different skill levels inside the different real estate, meetups, with it being your meetup, it being, meetups in Charleston, it'd be meetups online, they've got those. Heck, even just going to, hang out at a local restaurant or something like that, you might run into somebody and talk to somebody that you may not even know.
Yeah.
Right. And so not being afraid, I guess. And then the other thing is, really don't get into a comfortable position inside of a networking event. Right. You want to be uncomfortable a little bit. You want to be, get yourself out of your element and go talk to the people you would not talk to, because then it's just going to help you get those reps in to go and do it again and again. And you're going to get more confident with it and be able to articulate what you're looking for and how someone could help you with that, or how you might be able to help somebody, because there's value that, people may need from what you're doing. And so you walking up to somebody, they may see that value inside of what your experience level is.
Oh, that's really good. So I want to ask, tell me about your first deal that you've ever done. Or besides you said 2016, you house hacked. Let's say once you joined the Sub 2 group, let's hear about the first deal.
Yeah. So I'll tell you, my first deal was in Fort Lawn, South Carolina.
Okay.
And I was up there and I was, calling agents and asking, just doing the, going through my reps, right? Trying to get on the phone, just talking to people about real estate, about deals, seeing deals that were on the market for too long, or if they're overpriced. And so I found this deal, and this agent, would not take me to see this house, right? Saying it was too busy. And I was like, you know what? This is not going to stop me, right? I'm going to go down here and go look at a house that was right on the river, right? And went down there, just poked around, just act like I was looking. So I went to the neighbor's house, right, and knocked on their door and said, hey, just asked them if it floods there because it was right on the river. You know how we know the rivers flood in South Carolina and North Carolina. So she was like, no, but the owners are just down here. You want to go talk to them? Yeah. So got to this house. It was like a $450,000 home on the market. Newly rehabbed, overlooking the water. right? And so I was got the owners, and him and his wife came over there. We were talking. Come to find out, he was, a retired military, and we just started having a conversation of what I was looking to do, and so left it there, and I went back, thought about it that night, wrote down an offer on a piece of paper, and I was sitting there visiting my grandma. She's like, "Go there and give it to him," and on a yellow sticky note, I wrote out a seller finance offer,
Good for
and
you.
went back over and knocked on his door, and they had me in, gave me some banana bread, to take home with me. And then that's how the deal got started, right? And so we ended up not doing a seller finance because of tax reasons for him, because they're in their later years, and just in case if something happened. But we did do a 5-year lease option. It was a great deal. I mean, who's going to get a 400? I think it was 453 is what the purchase price was. I locked in for 5 years, paying $1,200 a month rent, right? Because the lease option on this brand new 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, water, and I think I get $100 a month credit towards my principal in 5 years. And so I saw it as, okay, look, this is an amazing deal. No one's ever going to get a deal like this. The houses that are coming down the road are selling for 800,000, 900,000, 700,000. By the time 5 years comes around, I'll just refinance into something that is, and I'll be at 50% loan to value, right? And so I used that as an Airbnb. We used it as a family home for a little bit when my grandmother was still alive, and so but now it's Airbnb, pays for itself. I've let other sub two students stay in there because they didn't have a place to stay when something happened in their house. And that's the one thing about real estate, right? Is you can help people out at the same time. So that was my first creative deal, but my first sub two deal was in Beaufort, South Carolina, up here. And it was the house I lived in for the last year or so. We just sold it. But it was, me just getting on Facebook group, right? And just posting, hey, who's looking to sell their property that doesn't have equity to sell with the agent, but they want to move, kind of thing. And this couple reached out to me, and all I had to do was pay for closing costs and got the house. So
You took over their loan. You just took over the payment
Yep.
on their note. Oh my gosh. Okay, Adam, I want to back up to. Did I freeze?
And so then we had all we had to pay for was just the closing cost. Was with people and agents, and say, do you want to pay someone to buy your home? Is that what you want to do, or do you want to sit here and let's have a conversation about how we can solve a problem together? The problem is you want to move, you can't sell your home. Well, I'm here to solve that problem. It may be an unconventional way that you want to, but you just need to open your mind up to it. And it has been easier to do the more deals we do, because I tell a lot of people, I'm like, okay, why can I not take over your $300,000 loan when I've taken over a $1.7 million loan out in California? So because I still get to this day, right, that people are telling me, you're not allowed to take over anybody's loans. I'm like, well, there's a lot of people that are, I've even had people tell me I'm committing mortgage fraud, right, and should go to jail. And I'm like, well, there should be a big jail cell, because me and a bunch of lawyers and everybody else are going to be having to sit there together.
Yeah, it's complete, because it's kind of funny. I'm sitting in real estate agency class right now, and they're like teaching us all this, like in class. They're like, you can take over, like there's all this stuff, and I'm like, why are people so afraid of this? Like when they're like teaching me how this works as an agent, and yeah, it just kind of opened my
Well,
mind up. Like, why are people so scared of this when it's being taught?
It's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable, right? Because people don't, if they don't understand it, they don't want to lose face in front of somebody, and they're supposed to be the trusted expert, right? And unfortunately, people won't self-educate, unfortunately. But also, even if that's not the case, they don't want to lose their credibility with the buyer or seller in most cases, because of they're supposed to be the trusted source on it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, one of the top rules in sales, may I say, just in general, not just real estate, just sales in general, is if the customer is confused, it's always going to be a no. And that no is just
Mm-hmm.
an indication of their confusion. They don't know and they're not comfortable because they're confused and they're going to say no. So really, as investors and, creative finance people, it's our job to take away that confusion. And Adam, you're great at it. Like, you've done the reps, you know what to say. I'm sure you have great answers to many questions. What's the hardest question you've had from a seller when you were trying to get across what you were trying to do? What's something that you've struggled with answering?
A lot of times it's the tax situation with seller finance. That is probably not my strongest area on
Mm-hmm.
tax benefits for it. I'm trying to better myself at that, right? And the other one is, really, what if you stop paying, right? That's like a hard one. Well, there's a lot of things that could happen, right? There's, there, but those are my two ones that I've had a lot of times, because it's really easy to say that you're not going to stop paying, right? But then they're just having to take your word for it, right? So that is one of the hardest parts. But I'll tell you, the other one too is really breaking the barrier with agents. Unfortunately, that has been the struggle, right? So really, for me, I've really just, a lot of people say don't go into a conversation with creative, right? Well, now I just blatantly come out and say, look, I know that you have been approached already, most likely about doing some type of creative deal on here. Why has that not worked out? Or what questions do you have about that would not make it work out? And so I go into it a little bit differently. I go in usually straight creative. And because I know that most of the times they've already been beat up or so on it, that, hey, I'm just here to solve a problem,
Right.
right? Let's figure it out. If it's a no, then okay, thank you. I would rather a seller sell their house on open market so they can get the best, for their client, or an agent to sell it so they can get their client the best deal. Not saying that we're not doing a good deal, because we are. A lot of times we're overpaying the property doing creative finance. But I always tell them, I'm like, look, if they can sell it on market, then yes, go ahead and do that. I'm not, I don't disagree with you. But if they can't do that, here's another option and let's talk about it.
Well, Adam, I want to answer one of your hard questions. If this helps, I want to give you a story, and it's a true story. I have a seller finance deal, and Chandler knows this owner. We manage for him. He's a really good guy, but he's also very intelligent. He's been an investor for over 40 years. And so he sold me one of his properties years ago, and I still pay him every month. He's a good guy. And of course, the conversation always comes up about not paying. And he looked me dead in the eye. He goes, I hope you don't pay it. And I said, what? And he goes, I hope you don't pay the bill. He goes, because I'm going to take it back. I'm going to sell it again for more. And he said
Mm-hmm.
one of his properties that he sold on seller finance terms, he took it back 3 times and he made more money every time. And he had no problem doing it, but he knows the law. So, that's encouragement, is like when you realize that here in Georgia, and I'm assuming South Carolina is very similar as well. I know you invest a lot there, but if you can educate them on the law that, hey, you have every right to take it back and resell it for more, there's a very high likelihood if I don't pay, it's going to be worth more than it did when I took it over. So anyway, I've told many people that, and they're like, oh, that's funny. And I'm like, it's also true.
Yeah, it is very true. And that is one way to look at it, right? It would be but most beneficial for us to stop paying,
Yeah.
right? It may be an uncomfortable conversation to have, and have to go through a legal process, but it would benefit them greatly, because they would get all the debt pay down that we paid, right? All the appreciation from the property, all of the upgrades that we did to the property. So it would benefit them greatly for us to not pay.
Think about
So I'm incentivized to pay.
Yeah, the River House guy, right? He sold it for you at 430, and you think probably it's worth 800-900 today, right? So the best
Yeah,
thing
or
to do,
well, closer to once we get there, right? We're
yeah.
about 3 years away, but I know we're well over what I've got it locked in at.
But I'm saying if you quit paying today, he would absolutely do just fine being like, see
Oh,
ya.
absolutely. Yep. As rates go down,
Right.
it's a seller's market. And so, we have, um, it would be ideal for me not to pay him, because then he could go in and sell that house and make, a ton more money.
Mhm.
Which I might sell the house anyway, right? So when I get to that point, you know, but and go buy a bigger house.
I think the key is like being able to educate these people where they can understand it. Most people, you start talking all these terms and stuff, and I think that's where Pace is a really good teacher, where he just explains it like he's talking to a kindergartner. It's like super
Yep.
dumbed down, it's super easy. And I think with some people, that's just how you have to be. And some people
Hmm.
just can't, they can't just dumb it down. They're like talking all these terms and all these crazy stuff, and they're like, "What are you talking about?" But I think that's
Yep.
the key is if you can dumb it down a little bit and get them to understand it, that helps a ton.
And sometimes the Southern charm helps. I don't know.
There you go.
So
Work it, Adam.
yeah.
I
Hey,
agree.
I will tell you, I put out sometimes my veteran card too, right? Because now they're going to get mad and yell at me, right? So
Probably probably helps with the trust thing. Yeah, that's what I would think.
yeah, no, it does a lot, right?
Yeah.
Especially with taking over VA loans, right?
Uh-huh.
So it has helped, and the veterans that are out there, I was one to when I was getting out of the military, I was sitting in the Navy League in San Diego. They did a monthly meetup, networking, and it was breakfast every morning. That's military winning uniform, but and so I was a member, but I was sitting there and talking to this gentleman. It was all business owners, like big business owners, and he was like, if I was like, once I get out, that's it. You won't even know I was in the military, right? No affiliation whatsoever. He's like, you will lose a lot of money by not leveraging your veteran experience. And I can honestly say that has helped me get some of the deals that I've gotten
Mhm.
because of that background, because it's instant credibility and trust, um, with certain.
That's good. I like it.
Not only were you in the military, you retired with full benefits from the Marines. That's very rare that a Marine makes it 20 years, Adam. I want to shout that out. I mean, you're a one percenter right there. Isn't the average in the Marines 6 or 7 years? It's Marines are
Well,
tough,
yeah, most people get out at their 4-year contract.
right?
That's the majority of the people get out. There's only what is it? I think it's maybe 7,000 people a year reenlist or something
Yeah.
like that.
The Marines have the
So
lowest rate for that because it's so physically demanding. And the fact when you told me you were in 20 years, I said, what? You're a very rare, bird that can say that. And I want to give you a shout out that says how tough you are. And anyway, like you're already up there in my eyes just for that.
appreciate it.
So
He's
speaking
allowed me to travel a lot, so that's why I loved it. That's probably why. That's the one reason why I stayed in, because I was able
Not
to
to
go visit
fabulous
so many countries.
locations, but you did.
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, so speaking of leveraging like the military and the Marine, talk about how you leverage like the VA loan and how you kind of are able to work with that a ton. I think that's really cool for we have a lot of military people here in Savannah, so I think it'll be good for them to hear that.
Yeah, so like I spoke about my first deal that I got, right? Leveraging that downstairs bedroom. We don't have any kids. I've got two golden retrievers. That's about it,
Mhm.
and they're my kids. And so, you know, we didn't need a big house, right? But we had a 4-bedroom, 3-bath house, right? So we were able to leverage the house that way. But really taking a look at leveraging the VA loan, if you're going into a new area, right? Coming into Savannah, getting stationed there, getting stationed up here in Beaufort, South Carolina at Parris Island, or the air station, Marine Corps Air Station, Beaufort, going in and looking at, okay, if I can buy this property, live in it, because I'm going to have to live somewhere, what can I do with it after I leave, right? Do I keep it in my VA loan? Do I put it in? Do I have enough equity in 3 years to buy, to refinance into a conventional loan so I can free up my VA loan to go use it somewhere else. But the benefit really is, I look at, these triplexes, these duplexes down in Savannah, and seeing how that someone can come in, live in one side, buy, rent out the other two sides or three sides, because you can go up to 4 units with a VA loan to still be residential. And really, you've got somebody paying your mortgage for you. And then when you leave, you've got income coming in, right? Because it was already paying the mortgage. Now you've freed up another unit. So now you're cash flowing, right? And if I would have done what I could do now, and I would, have been stationed, all over, I can't even tell you how many duty stations, right? Off the top of my head, I have to count, right? But the average person stays at a duty station for 3 years, right? So they're on average going to do 5 duty stations in their career. Well, that's 5 homes, most likely they could buy. But they could have bought 1 or 2 at their duty station, right? Because you just stay in it for a year or so, and then move to another one, right? And then you just keep recycling your VA loan. And so when you leave the military, be it 4, 6, 12, 20 years, if you've got residual income, mailbox money coming in your pocket, to where now you don't have to worry about what you're going to do when you get out, right? You've got the asset growing, use appreciation. You've got, now you can really go out and look at, okay, well, I'm gonna sell these, cash out. I'm gonna take the money, move it here. But the VA loan really is a benefit for veterans if they are educated properly in how to leverage it as their primary, but with the intent of, once they leave, to convert it over to an investment property. And because I see a lot of people that buy properties and they just sell every time they leave a duty station. Well, the majority of the time, they're not going to get a ton of money now if they, because we already passed the bubble, right? They've already passed where they appreciated from 2019, 2020, the 2018, 2019 they bought, it appreciated during and they got into and sold during 21, 22, right? Well, that cycle's come and gone in most cases. So they've already got, the majority of those people have already cashed, sold, they've gotten their big chunk. Well, now you've got people that bought in 20, 21, 22 are about to sell. And now they're in a buyer's market kind of situation where they don't have a lot of leverage or a lot of equity to spread, just to pay for it to get out of it, really, at the closing. So, I wish that more veterans would keep their homes. And because they always, one, will always have a place to go back to if they need to. And then second, but it also it helps them build their, financial freedom and build their wealth over time, so that they don't have to be, worried about where they're going to go when they get out of the military. And, there's so many ways too. They don't even have to keep it to rent it, right? A lot of people, they could, do contract for deeds up here in South Carolina, bond for title. I'm doing that with somebody right now at one of my homes that's under my VA loan. I'm gonna do a 2-year bond for title, right? Rather than me selling it and only making about 15 grand, I'm selling it and going to make a total of about 60 something grand collectively over the life of that.
Give us more info on that. Can you explain that a little bit?
Yes. Yep. So, with the VA loan, you can 100% avoid the due on sale clause, right? If you do a contract for deed, right? Because the deed never transfers. You still go through the process of, going through attorneys, getting, doing all the paperwork, everything's done, but it's almost like at least a rent to own situation. But now they've given you a down payment. They've got equitable interest in the property. So you would still have to go through the foreclosure process if somebody really stopped paying for you or paying you. But for me, it gave, I'm keeping the deed. I don't have to worry about the due on sale clause. The guy's coming in with money down payment, and I'm going to just get the spread between. It's like almost like a triple net lease if you do it for those that do the commercial side, right? because that person is responsible for paying the principal and interest and insurance and taxes for the property. Well, there's benefits for him, right? Because now I'm military. Once I leave, that property will still be able to keep the tax benefit on that, for my primary, because there's a stipulation that if you leave, you can still rent your properties out in South Carolina if you've been ordered out. Well, my husband's still in the military, so we're leaving. And so we're being ordered away. So we can keep that tax, right, until we claim another primary somewhere else. But it just gives, someone you don't always have to think of having to keep a property. You can get creative with how you dispo a property, get rid of something, so that it still generates income for you, but a larger amount of income over the span of time. And a lot of people that, unfortunately, in the military community, they're very short-sighted on financial stuff, and they don't look at what can happen in the future. And so that I have seen, right? You see that's why a lot of people sell, and you see a lot of people, unfortunately, with bonuses that, ask them where their bonus is a year after they get it. A lot of times they point at the Camaro out front. Right?
That's what I was going to say.
And that conversation, and that leads, and that, that conversation there has helped me get deals, right? Because I wholesaled a deal in Texas, and that statement alone about bonuses helped me get that deal closed and offloaded to someone else. Because the question, what are you going to do with $112,000? What did you do with the big bonuses you got before? Where's that money? How many kids do you have? Okay, would you not rather take this money? How old are your kids? When are they going to college? 12 years? Okay, how about you take this money, set it aside, let's do a 12-year balloon, and this is their college fund. You can't spend it. You're going to get money. You're going to get interest on it. You're going to get money on it. And guess what? It was a flip the way they thought, and they said, okay, let's do the deal.
That's great.
Right?
That's awesome.
So,
with your lease options, this is my question on that. So can you just set any terms and say 12 years or 5 years or 30 years? Like, could you arguably lease option it to them for 30 years and then it automatically transfers at the end of that time? Like, tell me about your parameters on that.
Yeah. So for like mine, right, I've got a 2-year balloon, and inside my bond for title, it says, the property will convey, the deed will convey over to the new buyer once they satisfy that under that, the debt, right, what I'm selling it for. And so, but what we're going to do with that one, we're going to, on the back end, we're just going to sell or finance our equity on the back end to them at an interest rate, because I don't need the money, right? I'd rather sit there and be in treat it as a high yield savings account. And so, but yes, in theory, you can go as long as you want, right? Because you're the bank. You get to control that. You can say, hey, I'll do 10 years. I'll do 12 years. I'll do 7 years. I'll do 5 years. If it doesn't appraise, we'll go do an extension, right? Kind of thing. Because if it doesn't appraise for 70% loan to value, well, then I can't go refinance you. So can I get an extension? Is that an automatic extension? However, so there's so many ways to do it. Not every deal is the same. So you got to look at, from my side, I know what I want. But when you're talking to sellers, it's what is the intended use of this equity? What is the intended use of the proceeds from this sale? Really help solve the problem of being able to connect on getting the deal done.
So
hopefully that answers your question.
I want to ask, you said when you wish you had done it, you would have bought a property every station, and you would have bought basically one a year if you could, right? While you're at that station, instead of just one.
Yes.
So how would you use the VA loan? You would have to refinance out of the VA loan, right? But after a year, is it tough to refinance out of it, or like how do you do all that?
Well, it depends on where you're at, right?
Okay.
Because here in Savannah and Beaufort on the East Coast, we know that we can most likely reasonably use our VA loan and buy 2 homes to have 2 active loans at the same time. In most cases, because we look at the loan limit, right? You're at 7. 760 something right now, or 720. I can't remember the exact number.
Not much.
Um,
Oh, wow.
and so if you got two homes that are $350,000, those are nice homes over here, right? You can go buy a spec home or a home out in the county or in the city. You can buy homes for $350,000. So then you got two, right? Well, then you can go out and you've got equity built up in the other one, go refinance that one or sell it to free up your loan. But you can recycle. You have to, once you reached your cap, it doesn't say for the down payment of the property, right? The VA will only back up to the limit of the loan. So you can still have a VA loan. You're just required to go out and bridge the gap between the 20% down, so you can avoid the PMI. And so that's really what the VA loan protects, right? So you're not paying PMI, but you can go out and sell it if you have enough equity, refinance it into another loan. Either be a DSCR, conventional. As you use conventional investment loans, second home, investment home loans, then DTI starts to come into effect a lot of times. You start to run out. And so you do have to switch over to these commercial products with VA or DSCR that's going to be at a 80% rate and term refinance. But you can, if you strategically do it, you can, cycle those homes and recycle your VA loan. And free up. As you free one up, you go buy another one. Or if you free it all up together, right? Like for me and my husband, he's military, so he's the house we're in right now. We used his VA loan to buy this house. We fixed it up. We made it really nice because it's going to be an Airbnb when we leave, right? And we're going to keep this home under his VA for the time being. And then the home that we're selling on a bond for title, that's under my VA loan, which I know when we leave to go to California, our plan is not to buy another home for 2 years out there, our primary home, because that's his last duty station. So we don't want to be rushed into buying a home and feel like we're obligated to buy one. So that's why I did a 2-year balloon on my contract fee, because I wanted my VA loan freed up in 2 years. And so once that's freed up, I'll have full entitlement. And now I'm not even stuck to the limits of the loan limit. With a VA loan, as long as your DTI allows for it, you can go $1, $2, $3 million and have a VA loan and have no down payment as long as you have no active VA loans out. But then you're stuck, right? Now, you couldn't do this strategy out in California, right? Because most homes are going to be at the cap of the loan limit. Because out in California, I think it's like 1.1 million or 1.2 for a single family home. And once you do that, now you're tapped out so you can't recycle as easy out there. And when you come back east, if you haven't sold your home, now you're stuck with not being able to use the VA loan out here on the East Coast. So, there are some ways that you have to look at it strategically, but really working with, getting education on, those types of, what I'm going to be, what's your goal? And then working backwards and say, okay, this is what I need to do to get there in 3 years. If I'm going to leave and I want to go buy another place, well, either I'm going to keep my VA loan here and I need to figure out how I'm going to qualify for a conventional debt. So I got to come up with a down payment.
So Adam, I'm sure you've had this question before. I'm an agent. I actually have a property under contract right now for a client, and it got into a bidding war, and shockingly, my client won. And that is not typical because I never offer full ask or even over ask typically. But the other people that were willing to pay more than we were, they had VA loans and they didn't want to deal with them. Talk about that a little bit, because a VA loan is great for the veteran. It's not always great for the seller.
My question is, why is it not great for the seller?
Because they have, from my understanding, agents hate them. Agents hate FHA, they hate Georgia Cares, and they hate VA. And if an agent with any other loan product walks in the door, they're going to get top billing, even if they're less. I see it all the time. And and
I think that is due to the lack of education.
Okay.
Right? Because my question to that agent is, why do you hate it? Right? What's the difference in this and this? Right? Tell me, are Are we going to be able to close? Yes.
That's
Right. Are we going to be able to close? That's the biggest thing, right? Now, there are, with federally backed loans, you've got to worry about the inspection,
right.
right?
The issue.
But everyone should have to be worried. Everyone should have to have an inspection. Everyone should look for an inspection when they're looking at a property. Hell, we do it with all of our creative finance deals. And we've not bought properties because of the inspection, because there was no room to wiggle any. And so, I see it as a lack of understanding on the VA side, and really looking at and seeing, okay, what's the real benefit here? Is it, we want to accept this offer because it's conventional and cash because we can close early? Or is it because we don't know anything, we want to go this route? So there's a lot of unknowns when you're, in that, I guess, arena, when people just assume that a VA loan and FHA loan are going to not get to closing. But what is the actual what are the actual stats? I don't know the stats, right?
I do. I mean, I don't know the stats, but I've seen it myself because I've closed stuff in FHA, and they have to, if you're going to use one of those products, you're going to have to pretty much pay top dollar for it. But those inspections, people are terrified. The worst thing you can do is pull a house off the market and then it doesn't close and you have to put it back on the market. It's instantly worth less. You've got tons of questions. Any seller, like, the number one thing they want to know is this buyer going to close? And when you have an unknown scenario, like an inspector walking in the door, that's a huge unknown, and they don't like that. I'm telling you, they will take conventional all day over a higher FHA, VA, or other product like that. I've just seen it 100 times. So I'm like, you've got to always, in my opinion, be extra prepared, because we don't control the inspectors. If there's peeling paint, they can force the homeowner to fix that. There's a lot of things in the inspection. If it doesn't pass, the homeowner has to fix it, not the buyer, the homeowner, and they will not let you close until it's done. And that's a huge fear for the sellers and the agents.
Yeah. And there's, I've always written in, like, inside my contracts, I always like to go to the 4% limit of allowed for concessions on a property. And so that allows for, when things do come up, for those to be, okay, let's take away a little bit of the concessions so that gets paid for, to alleviate some of the back and forth with an agent on VA loan or so on. But also really understanding what an inspector looks for when having a listing, because then you can go in and look and say, hey, this is what's going to come up. Let's go ahead and address it now. Or if they don't want to make any repairs, okay, well, let's say that what if it is a VA loan? Well, how about, can your client go back out and look at getting qualified for a renovation VA loan, to where now they can do improvements of the property, but it's still a VA loan? If they qualified for the original one, then they may qualify for the renovation side. Now they can get the money to fix this place up and have a better offer.
What are some of the things on that inspection, Adam? Do you know off the top of your head for a VA inspection, VA loan inspection?
Well, it's a lot of it's just safety stuff, right? Electrical. You've got, wood rot. That's a big one. The structural integrity of flooring. As you go into these big Savannah homes, the homes are lopsided, right? Like our flip that we've got going on, we just know that the house is lopsided. It's crooked a little bit. That's Savannah, though, right? The house is settled since 1900, a little bit differently, right?
Those are all things an investor is going to buy. Everything you just said is an investor special. So it's like most investors don't buy a perfect turnkey property. That's the problem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But yeah, so it's really just safety is really the biggest thing. Roof, electrical, plumbing, making sure outlets have the right GFCIs, close to the handrails. So I just employ people to maybe sit down with a VA inspector and actually ask those questions, because I'll tell you, I had a really good agent that she was there when the inspection went on, so that she could answer questions that was, rather than it just be one of those, oh, it popped up on inspection. Well, at least we knew it was coming, so it can be addressed, or we can mitigate that during the actual inspection.
Smart.
So it just goes back into the education side on the agent.
I like it. Sounds like it just as an investor for the VA loan, it'd just be easier to go ahead and get started with the renovation VA loan. Start
Well,
with
it just every property is different, right? Because a lot of the majority of people that use their VA are buying turnkey properties, right? That's just a given. It's
Yeah.
very rare that a lot of people they're either doing that or build a new home or buying a modular home, a mobile home, and with them. And so I don't know many people that use the construction loan. I've not used it on the VA side because you're only limit. I think you go up to like $100,000. No, I don't even think you can go up that much. It's a lot less than that. I think maybe a lot less than that you can go up to, but it's only to fix certain things where there's a list in the handbook.
Okay.
And so, it's not always the best. There are stipulations to it and different qualifications, right? Than just a regular.
There are more sellers than you would believe that do not want to do repairs, and they don't want to be forced to do repairs, and they know the house needs work and they're willing to take less money and they don't want to deal with it. So the fear of an inspector coming in and saying, Mr. Smith, you have to do this before you can sell your house. It's just not what they want to hear at all. They'd rather give you a couple thousand towards closing than deal with the flooring. They're just tapped out. I see it all the time. I'm just giving you the other side. I am in no way.
Oh yeah, no, I get it. Now for me, I'm a little bit more savvier, right? Than now that I'm experienced. So I know that when I go get a VA loan out in California, well, I'm not going to be going looking for the home that have been there on market for a day, right? I'm going to look at those houses that 90+ days on market, right? So that I can get a lot of stuff done, courtesy of the homeowner. Right, because they're going to take whatever really comes, not whatever, but they're going to be more inclined to take my offer because I'm the only offer on the table at that point. Right? Let's have a conversation.
Makes sense.
So
I like it. So Adam, what's
one other thing about VA loans, real quick, I'll share with you is this is how you can get really creative, right? Is with the VA is like I've got a new build that I'm starting. On in November here in Beaufort, building 3 homes. It's going to be treated like a triplex, but and building a great, gorgeous property, right? And found this amazing builder. But hey, what am I using? I'm using private money to build it, and then I'm just going to take and possibly just refinance into our VA loan if we were here. But now that we're not going to be here, we'll refinance into a DSCR loan. But you can refinance. You can go out and use private money as long as you have that, 7 months worth of trend of paying the payment or the loan being seasoned enough. You can refinance into a VA loan. So you can go out and get these cash deals, deep discounted deals, fix it up the way you want to, and refinance into a VA loan.
6 months.
And now you've got all your money back.
As long
7
as
months. I think it's like 210 days.
Okay.
220, something like that. Yeah.
That's a great tip, Adam. And then you just work the private money into your numbers. You just know you're going to pay those points. And as long as the numbers still work, and you can afford the rehab part that you're going to do. And that's a great tip.
Yep. So yeah, there's a lot of ways to get into it creatively.
How do you find private money? I know you've done a lot with private money.
Coming to events like yours.
Well, a private money lender that you met is not registered with the SEC and doesn't have to be, and can only lend if that person knows you and is comfortable and
exactly.
And that is exactly what.
Yeah. So really finding private money, right? It can be a lot of things. You can meet. It could be your neighbor next door. It could be your high school friend. It could be somebody you meet at a meetup. It could be somebody you stand behind in a coffee line, right? You never know. It could be the person you sit beside on the plane. And so there's really no right answer to narrow down, oh, this is exactly where I'm going to find private money, right? Because you never know what that person to the right and left of you has available to work with, right? So just having conversations with people. I always like to start out with, "Hey, I bet you pay a lot of taxes, don't you?" You know, when I find out they're making a lot of money,
Yeah.
you know what? Okay, well, hey, I can help you solve that tax problem.
Uh-huh.
Or, hey, do you have a big IRA account? If somebody's talking about, oh, I've been, working on my TSP, or I've been working on, you know, this retirement account, where I've got this money in an old retirement account. Well, okay, well, did you know that you can move your money over to a self-directed IRA and lend that money out and make double-digit returns on it, rather than what have you been making up typically? Have can you touch what happens if the stock market crashes? Right? I don't know. Right? What if Are you investing in crypto? Okay, well, if you are, that's fake money. Really, if you can't touch it, it's fake to me, right? It could disappear overnight, and you could lose $100,000. Or I can give you I can get if you give me a loan, I'll give you a secured by asset, right? Is that crypto security against anything? No. You can come and touch and feel this property, right? You can see it. You can see the progress. You can see the money coming in. And so I really try to put it into the perspective of, with real estate lending, it's hard assets and you can touch it. Worst
Mm.
case scenario, you take it back from them, right?
Yeah.
And now, but have I done it yet? No. So, um, so finding private money is not the problem. It's the problem is people are afraid to talk to people about private money.
Well,
That's the problem.
you're a
I think that's
hustler.
fair. Go ahead, Julie.
I'm sorry. I want to hear, I know you think a lot like Chandler and myself. And as we've already discussed, we just had a hurricane and we've got horrendousness in real estate from Florida all the way. I don't even know how high because I haven't had news actually for a while. But we just got TV back. But what's your plan like when we have a big disaster like this? There's a lot of people in trouble with real estate. There's a lot of people with a lot of bad real estate right now that they can't repair. You have any plans for that? Like where do you go in that situation?
I don't really look at real estate in a disaster loan or disaster area, because I just don't know. I don't know anything about it, right? And most definitely, if I did, I wouldn't go into it right away, right? Because you don't want to come at people in a vulnerable state,
Right, right,
and
right.
that's because there's people out there that will. There's probably people poaching at all the land up there that's been devastated, and taking advantage of people that don't have the insurance to cover the repairs, and so on. So I just don't put myself in that bubble,
Okay.
because I just don't want to associate with that type of um, potential, um, I guess, how it could look on me, right? Like I could be looked at differently that could affect my other stuff that I'm doing.
Well, even just here in Savannah, in Beaufort, we've had damage. And, the
Mm-hmm.
last storm, I live in Richmond Hill. I own property in Richmond Hill, and one of my properties was affected by the flooding. And boy, I've already been approached by a ton of people, and I don't find it offensive. They're just, in a way, they're helping out because there are a lot of people with mold filled homes. And then now, after the last storm, we have a ton of people that have lost roofs to trees, things like that. So there's
Mm-hmm.
opportunities coming. And I didn't mean that in a predatory way by any means, but that's
Yeah.
investors fill a hole as we go, oh, your house has mold 4 feet up the walls. I'll take it. I mean, I have no problem saying that. I'm sure you don't either. So I just,
No,
of
I mean, if it is both ways, right?
course,
There's there's ways to get in. There's ways to do it without being predatory.
right. I definitely
And
didn't mean
so,
it
and
predatory.
yeah, no, I know that. But I haven't done it yet, right? So I can't speak on that. I do see that there is value in that, in it, right? Because one thing you could do, right? Say if a roof's flown off, well, what did that person have? Did they have roof insurance? Well, hey, I will take this off your hands, but can you assign me the insurance so I can get? And now, guess what? Rather than paying 14,000, 15,000 for a roof on your rehab, well, guess what? The insurance paying that, but but it's from under somebody else's, right? I just bought a place up in Kalispell, Montana, and guess what? The roof was messed up during our inspection. Guess who paid for it? Not us. The insurance did it.
Wow. Good for you.
So, and so, so there are benefits to certain situations if you're solving a problem for somebody, right? But you just have to do it in a different way than a lot of people go in a very predatory nature and try to take advantage of people's situations that I just don't agree with.
I get it. So
So,
Adam, what's kind of like what's your goals? What's next? You have big plans, or what's your goals?
well, we are going really heavy in on the co-living side
Okay.
of real estate. We just closed one yesterday. What's today? Wednesday? No, Monday in Clarksville, Tennessee. We're going to make a co-living home.
Nice.
So that one's coming online. It'll take about 60 days to do the rehab on it. And then I took that one over sub 2. We got one closing on the 11th of October in Jacksonville, Florida, co-living. And so we're going in on co-living right now, but also we're looking at working with other wholesalers, fund EMDs for them, and also help dispose some of their deals if they're not able to. So, but co-living is where we're focusing our effort at right now.
Nice.
With Airbnbs are great; they're sexy to talk about, but the majority of times it's really hard to make the numbers work. So, if we do have a or an Airbnb that comes online, it's going to be more of a lifestyle invest asset that we know that, hey, it's just, you're buying in with partners to buy something that's going to appreciate over time. It's going to pay for itself, but that's it. You're not going to get that mailbox money you're expecting. You're not going to get that cash on cash return. But what you do get is use of the property.
Mm-hmm.
It's worth something, right? If it's in a nice location, what would it cost you to go visit here? So you got to look at it that way. But yeah, co-living is where we're headed.
Cool. I like it.
Well, Adam, you have your logo up on the screen and also a QR code if anyone's watching on YouTube. Tell us about your organization, Coast to Coast Vets. Tell us what you do there.
Yeah, so it's me and my business partner, Michael. We own Coast to Coast Vets. We formed it last March. We met up at a real estate meetup in Southern California when I lived in San Diego, and we just formed a relationship over the next couple of months and said, hey, we want to go all in. He's a veteran. He's the Army, got out as a captain in the Army. And so him and his wife live in California. So that's why we're coast to coast, right? But we really, it's a real estate, it's a buy and hold it company, right? That's our brand. We, veteran owned company. We're out there, buying real estate, trying to buy the real estate we swore to serve and protect, right? So that's what we're there for.
Cool, I like it. I like it. Well, Adam, we appreciate your time today. Thank you for coming on.
I appreciate it. Hopefully y'all have me back some other time.
Oh, anytime. I mean, for those that don't know, Adam is really my go-to. I call you at least once a month with a question. You've been invaluable to me as a friend and a resource, and you're always just so open, to helping others. That's the best thing I can say to you. You really represent Pace's community so beautifully, in that you're always standing in a helping hand with your knowledge and your resources. And it's just been such a pleasure getting to know you, Adam. For our listeners and our viewers, how can they reach out to you if they wanted to reach out and get some help, maybe work together, maybe they have some private money or some real estate that needs a roof? How do people reach out to you?
Yeah, so the best way to reach out to me is on Instagram. There it is on my screen at Adam Catledge, or on at Coast to Coast Vets. But Instagram, or you can just shoot me an email, Adam at coasttocoastvets.com.
And the 2 is the number 2, Coast, the number 2,
Yep.
Coast Vets.
Yep.
Is there a website as well, or just the Instagram?
What was that again?
Is there a website, Coast to Coast Vets?
Yeah, so you can go on our website, coasttocoastvets.com. And then there's some links on there to feed you over to our social media, or to schedule a call with us if you like.
Awesome. Wow. Thank you so much. It's really been a pleasure hearing more. I always learn something when I hang out with you.
Yeah, I appreciate y'all having me on here. And just one last word, one last thing. We've built our portfolio, me and Michael to, over, almost $15 million in the last 2 years. And, using none of our own money on acquisitions. So, if I'm a firm believer that as long as you take action out there and, follow the guidance of others, you can succeed in this space and not have to have money. Don't let money be the limiting factor to your growth in the real estate space.
Amen. And that $15 million portfolio, Adam, just give us a roundabout answer. What was your average salary per year as a Marine when you did that?
When I get uh, 70,000 a year.
70,000 a year salary on average, and you were able to build a $15 million portfolio. I mean, when people walk up to you and go, "Oh, were you born with a silver spoon?" I know you're like, "No."
No. I mean, hey, I wear shoes for like 2 years. So
What have you sacrificed to get that portfolio, Adam? What have you said no to?
what have I said no to? It's
Yeah.
hard for me to say no to a lot of things, but
But pleasures, I know you've said no to things you didn't.
I have sacrificed some hair on my head because it is stressful, so
Yeah.
maybe a wrinkle here or there. But I have sacrificed a little bit of change in who my circle is, right? And the friends that I used to hang out with are not sometimes the same friends that I've hang out with today. And so it's not so much a sacrifice, but that's probably one of the sacrifices that I probably went with. Will go with is that right there. Sometimes the friends you have, you sacrifice those because they can't unfortunately grow with you, and they want to hold and you are who you hang around.
I like it. I
So,
like it. Way to end it. That was a good way to end it right there.
Very good way to end it. Thank you, Adam.
Appreciate your time.
all right, thanks.
Bye-bye.
Well, guys, thank you for coming on and listening to that awesome episode with Adam. Julie, I think you learned a thing or two. I sure did. What do you think?
Absolutely. I quiz Adam monthly, and I got to quiz him some more.
Yeah,
I still have more questions. I'll be calling him later.
always. I think I love what Pace Morby has done. He's kind of created this fantastic culture of just people willing to answer your calls, give you questions. Because some people, it's kind of tough to get answers from. They like to keep it to themselves, but not the sub two community. They let it all out and tell you everything. So I love getting to interview those kind of people.
Well, and one thing I want to say that Pace Morby always says, and I love this, is Pace always says, you don't have to know you don't have to know every step in where you want to go. You just have to know the next step. And it's very true. You're never going to know everything from point A to point B, but figure it out. And Adam is one of those resources where when you get stuck, call him, call me, call Chandler, call someone in your community and get that answer, because it's very easy to go, I don't know, I quit. It's a no because I'm confused.
Mhm. Yeah.
That's unacceptable. Just figure out the next step and then figure out the next step. And pretty soon you'll be there.
Yeah. Like one thing I like to, like most of the things that you're hearing Adam talk about, you probably don't understand. Like when you hear him talk about it, like look it up, like dig a little deeper. Don't just be like,
Yeah.
oh, I don't know what the heck he's saying. So I just don't know. Like look things up, call people, reach out and say, hey, you were talking about this. Like, you don't need to know it all. Just kind of like, all right, get the pointer words and then say, all right, what is this? And then kind of dig a little deeper. We all started somewhere, so you just kind of take baby steps.
Yep.
So yeah, that's the advice I would give you when you don't, because I know he talks about some high level things that some might not understand, but take those pointers and like Google them and say, hey, what is this? And then kind of just go down that rabbit hole and learn about it. So
Well, the day we met Pace Morby, Chandler, we were in San Diego, and creative was starting to trend. So I was trying to get educated, but for some reason, I was just hung up on how to close it. I don't know why. I didn't know. I was confused. And so when I met Pace, I said, how in the world do you get an attorney to close a creative deal? and it was nothing for him. He immediately showed me his phone. He had all these resources. And I thought, well, gosh, an answer that was so hard for me was so easy for Pace. I kind of felt like an idiot at that point. But it's like, if you don't know the answer, it might seem hard to you, but it's really easy for someone else. Just find that guy.
Yeah, no, finding the person, that's for sure. If you want to kind of go into this niche, find one person that knows it and then just bite their head off with all the information you can get. So,
Right.
but yeah, we appreciate y'all coming on. Let us know what you want to hear. Comment below. Bananas, we might be giving away tickets, we might not be. But let us know what you want to hear with bananas below it as well. Maybe some tickets will be coming your way. But we appreciate you coming and listening, and we'll see you in the next one.
Bye bye.